There we go. I see it.
It says live. All right. Hello and welcome. I'm Samantha Wallen with Right in Power, and we are here today to have a intimate conversation.
All right. Hello.
Oh, there, I'm hearing myself echo.
Welcome.
So
I'm Samantha Wallen with Right in Power, and we are here today to have a intimate conversation. Hello and welcome. I'm Samantha.
All right.
Oh,
Okay, I think that I paused that part of the video and then I can see Facebook. So bear with us, everyone, if anyone's joining us live right now so that we can see who's here and also not have this echo going on. Okay, there, I see us. Okay, so let's start this again. Make sure I have that volume off. All right. Okay, so once again, I'm Samantha Wallen with Right in Power, and I'm here today with Stephanie Steyer of Simply Gorgeous Life is her business, and we're going to be diving in today to talk more deeply. The title of this conversation, as I have it, is The Power of Writing What Wants to Be Written. And so I'm in conversation with Stephanie today because Stephanie has been working with me and has a book that she's working on through that process of writing with me, a forthcoming book called Healing Through Design. And there's so many beautiful, wonderful, great aspects about the work she's doing and in the book that are coming forward that I'm very excited about, and we wanted to share a little bit of that with you today, and a little bit also then about the importance of having the structure and support to really do this practice and this process of writing what wants to be written, whether that's your book or simply other writing you want to do for your business, or just even exploratory writing to get a deeper understanding of your story, your message, your value, and who you are in the world. So welcome, Stephanie. Thank you for being here with me today. And I'd love to just start with, just saying maybe a little bit about your knowingness or your initial desire around writing this book and kind of what it is and has been for you.
okay. Well, I've been working with Sam for a year and a half, and when I first heard about her program of Writing in Power and Alive, the writers forum that she created, I just knew I needed to participate. I didn't have this exact knowing of what the book was going to be, but in working with Sam and discovering the heartbeat of my book, which is that we are all unique and we deserve to be heard. And then the organic process of writing every day, it's transformed me. It absolutely has transformed me. And in the process, I started with an idea for the book on one thing, but then in the process with Sam, I have come up with the heartbeat of my book, which then helped me to keep writing to that. And it was so organic and natural and deep, strong, knowing that it wasn't forced, and it wasn't in my head. It was from my heart.
Beautiful.
And it's evolved from the original. So, which has been really cool because now it's even stronger.
Yeah, and so, I know through that process that you're naming, you landed on this clarity around this work, really being about healing through design and your visual identity. So, and we'll come back to the process and structure because I do want to speak to that some more in a moment. But what I love is there's so much great juice in there about the work of, you know, the message of the book and the work that you do. And so I'd love it for you to share, like, can you share 3 top things that have come from the book about this idea of healing through design that you'd like to share with us today?
Okay, 3. Well,
2 or 3, you know, just
yeah, no, that's good.
okay.
I think that number 1 has been the healing that I have received through writing, writing with you, receiving the writing prompts. And I am not a writer. I always felt like this is not, I mean, I journal, but it wasn't like I'm not a writer. Now I'm a writer. So the healing for me has been around learning to write and express my ideas, and that I do have ideas and I do have opinions and they're unique. And that has healed so much for me, of being able to stand really in my own knowing that gives me the solidity and the power behind the work that I'm doing and the reason for it. And if nothing else, that's the number 1 perfect reason to do this work. And that so 2, the other thing is that I realized that how valuable it is to dive into our own inner knowing of ourselves for bringing forward who we are in the world and using that as a basis of our brand or visual identity. And because we have so much value as our own individual people, our own individual selves, that we don't have to emulate anybody else. We don't have to emulate, you know, some person that we see online being successful. We can be ourselves, and that is the power in there. So so there's 2. The third one is that how much wisdom is in my story. And through that, and I think that we all have that, where our stories then lend authenticity and vulnerability, and they give our credibility, and we get to be, again, our unique, amazing selves.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. So, you know, what I just want to reflect back that I'm hearing in that is that, you know, just this process of going deep and going into the writing, and honoring this part of yourself that wanted to write and to write this book, even though you didn't consider yourself a writer, was a deep and powerful journey for you, and understanding your uniqueness, and what was in you that wanted to come out, right? And that, you know, that transformed you into actually owning yourself as an authority and a voice and a writer,
right,
for your book, and beyond, I would probably say. And that, you know, this is part of then getting to see the uniqueness, that's part of the story in and of itself. Through the work you do, is for people to be able to have a way to see their uniqueness and make it more visible in the world. So in this case, you were doing that with me through the process of your own book.
Right.
And then, you know, I'm going to translate into what you do and what comes through your book around healing through design and visual identity, is you help people then take that story of who they are out into a visual brand, if you will, or visual representation in the world in a way that is unique to them, accurately reflects them, and feels good. Because that's one of the things that's really stood out to me about who you are and the work that you do is, you know, there's a lot, I think, particularly as women, who are working to be visible in the world as entrepreneurs, and they're putting their own thing out there. There's a lot of, I know for myself, a fear and just a real, when it comes to marketing myself, that's the biggest place I have a trigger and I shut down. And there's a lot of deep wounding about this idea of who you have to be, what you have to look like, how you have to present yourself in the world in order to be viable or likable or drop people into your business or to your social circles or follow you on your, Twitter or whatever, it may be. And there's a lot of stuff in there for us. So I'd love for you to just name a couple things just in the work that you do of healing through design, of how you help people kind of heal those areas of shame or those areas of getting it right or being something other than who they are in order to be visible in their life and in their business.
That's beautifully said, Sam. All of it.
That all came from you and the work
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But I think too that it speaks to your ability to hone it down to whatever it is, whoever it is that you're working with. You have the ability to get down to the essential parts and really help hone it for. Well, you certainly have done that for me, but I've seen you in groups do it for other people too as well. I think that's one of your beautiful strengths.
Thank you.
So you're welcome.
I think that is the gift I have, and I love to do it, and I don't know how not to. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, right. That's the beautiful part. And for me, in the course of writing this book and working with you, I've fine-tuned my business. Like, I've been a graphic designer for 35 years. So, and I've done everything that, from, CD covers to books to everything, logos to websites. And, I don't really want to do that so much anymore because there's a lot of people who can do it and do it well. But I have this ability to see people through the work that I do with them in a way that helps them then also reflect that out into the world in a visible and viable way. And so one of the things that I do with people is I create muse boards, and it's really soul work where we're getting your soul to speak to you through visual images and prompts. And through that, you get a reflection in a visual format, in a hard actual, and so I make two sizes. One is a big one, and I don't have an example, but they're big. They're like 18 inches square. And then I make these little ones. And I did this for myself for my book. And this is why I needed to write my book. And it was about community and connection and catharsism, which it's all coming through. But through this process, I help people get back in touch with their soul essence. And that's where the healing comes in. That's what I find.
Yeah. And so, I just want to clarify that too for anyone who's listening. And I'm been trying to see if there's anyone joined us live on Facebook, but it's hard to tell on the devices I'm on. So I don't see any comments, but if you're out there and you've joined in, I'd love to have you, share any questions or comments that you have for either one of us. So we'd love to answer those and be engaged with you. But, what you do with those muse boards and what you're outlining, in your book is how do you gather this visual representation, of who you are and use that as a foundation for creating all of your brand identity, from your website to your logo to your, any headers or the images you use or the font type you use or even the color scheme that you use in your business, and have it be something that that is authentically you, you know, has a foundation that you can rely upon for everything, but also is dynamic enough to change kind of over time and still hold that deeper essence of yourself in it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And it's amazing how it almost is universally seen. So the bigger ones, especially if you show it to a web developer or a virtual assistant or another graphic designer, they get it, they see it, they understand in a very quick way, energetically, who you are. And so what I am doing is saying this is step 0 in the process of developing or redeveloping your brand and your visual identity. So
yeah, which, you know, I've been doing a few of those steps with you.
Yes.
And just I'm here to testify as well how powerful that process has been, of really getting to just to even go through the process of selecting the images has been a healing process for me as well. You know, as you said, through the writing and working with me, I'm having the same experience in terms of working with you and gathering this more visual aspect of who I am and what that looks like. And I have, you know, used what we've created in the Muse board to have a graphic designer start creating some things for me that I could never articulate before in terms of trying to describe what I wanted. And then to get something back for the first time from a graphic designer, normally my product process would be that I would just not like it immediately because it didn't feel like it conveyed what I wanted. And now I had the experience recently of she created something and sent it back, and I was like, I love that. You know, there are a few tweaks maybe, but otherwise it was like, oh wow. So, you know, there is a lot of power in that, and there's a lot of power in just, you know, what you're bringing forward through the book, because your book is really a deeper articulation of looking at branding and, you know, what that has been in the world and how that relates to us personally, and then how we can go on this journey to be more of ourselves visually in the world. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. And you know, the thing too is I feel that these Muse boards give people confidence. It's like, oh, they remember. I've heard comments, people say that it's their anchor, it's their touchstone. They have a staying power. They last for years.
Yeah.
I mean, I have clients who have been using them now for over 4 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I think we're on to something.
I think so. So just, you know, in terms of then the structure and kind of bringing, you know, our day to our conversation here to a close. I would love for you, I know you've spoken to this some about, you know, the power of this structure and kind of working with me and coming into your own voice and sense as a writer, and just even uncovering this book in a way that you didn't necessarily expect when you began it. I'm just curious if there's anything you'd want to share, because this is the thing, you know, I think that I work with most with clients or people who come to me is, you know, having this desire to express, or maybe feeling like they know they want to write a book, or they want even just some deeper clarity around who they are in their life and their business. Generally, I find people, you know, come to me in times of transition or uncertainty, and they're really trying to hone in, as you said, on this essence of what I call their book's heartbeat, which is also their life's heartbeat. It's like, what is the meaning that your life has been and is still intending to convey in the world, and how do you touch into that, you know, what's written on your soul, the words of your soul, and you're doing the images from your soul, and do that. And so I'm just curious, like, what do you think you would have done this work or alighted upon this for yourself if you hadn't had a structure of support to do it?
No, absolutely not. The structure that you created from the beginning is what has it held me in a place where I could do the work, and it also kept me going in terms of the the monthly structure, the check-ins, the submissions of writing, and the retreats. The retreats were huge. The going to your retreat and connecting in a personal, actual physical way, as opposed to online or via emails. It was huge. Plus, you're there with other people, and it allowed for the space that you create in your retreats held us all in that safe place to be vulnerable. And we had some amazing and very powerful moments in these retreats. And that allowed me to go deeper into the writing of my book and exploring about who I am, because you're right, the heartbeat of my book is really the heartbeat of my life.
Yeah, well, thank you. Because, one of the things I just wanted to share too with the audience is, well, one, Stephanie participated in what's called my Alive Writers Program, which is the longer term program of getting to really do the private, personal, and group work of the writing over time. And then you were speaking to the retreats as well. And I'm very excited right now to have an upcoming retreat called Written on Your Soul, which is a 5-day residential writing retreat that is designed to really awaken this process in you, and to give you that kind of structure and space within community to go deep into what's written on your soul. And perhaps that is the beginning of your book. Perhaps it's maybe a completion of your book if you've already started one. Perhaps it's a new creative idea or business idea. Perhaps it's just a new or a renewed understanding of who you are in the world and what your life has been, and where it might be leading you next, especially in our sort of chaotic and uncertain times that we're living in. And I think each of us is being asked to more fully go inward, because the noise of the world outside of us and the distractions and the massive information and misinformation and, political narratives and all the things that are happening can really take us away from hearing the truth of what's within us and what wants to come forward. And we have to be able to step out of that noise to hear ourselves more clearly. And as you said, be able to be witnessed and seen in community, because I've said, and you've heard me say this, like, you can't hear yourself by yourself or see yourself by yourself. So could you name a little bit about what it's been for you to see your own story and its impact and power through community with others?
Yeah. There is nothing like that, really. I mean, I'm getting chills all over just thinking about how incredible it is to spend an hour or two writing something and then sharing it with a group of other women who receive you completely and 100%. And that it's so much confidence building, feeling worthy, like, okay, I really do have something impactful to say, because when you see it reflected back to you in tears or laughter or whatever, you realize that you can make a difference. And I think that's what we all want to do, is to make a difference.
Yeah.
And so that there's nothing comparable to that. And you do get a little bit if you're in a Zoom call or a live online, and you do get some of that, but there's still something about the physical context of being in retreat with other people that you build an intimacy that then you can carry forward in an online community. But that physical intimacy that you build through your retreat, Sam, is what gives me the confidence to keep going and keep writing and to finish my book.
Thank you. felt that, and I know that experience being in the room, so I appreciate you sharing.
Yeah, there's nothing like that. I don't think you can recreate it any way except in person. And it also facilitates getting to the end. Well, there's no end, but through the process quicker. I really think that like you say, you can't hear yourself when you're by yourself. So when you do the work and you write in a journal or you're writing your book, and that's great, but to have the feedback and to have the perspectives of other participants or you, it's invaluable. It really is.
Yeah.
It's really invaluable.
Yeah, and we step out of our normal habits and patterns of our lives too, and have a different opportunity to see ourselves more clearly and to be seen by others more clearly. And I think there's so much that comes from that power of sharing and the validation of also recognizing like you're not alone on this journey, and there's a lot of similarities and connections, and like you said, you're worthy, you have impact, and it can just be even the power of an impact of a moment of a piece you shared that you just wrote right then and there. And that's often, I think in a way, that's often what we're craving is that sort of raw, vulnerable, powerful, wise truth that just comes out of us and comes out of other people and names this sense of what it means to be human.
Right. And that's what facilitates the catharsis. Otherwise we wouldn't, we could spin around in our environment, our own personal environment, which is, great. But at the same time, if you really want to make that, push those boundaries, that then being in retreat or in person with people and being witnessed is what really helps facilitate that.
It does. Well, thank you for speaking to that so beautifully. And I don't know if anyone has joined us or comments, so I hope if you're watching later, I'm going to put down in the comment section below a link to get on and have a conversation with me, schedule some time with me if any of this resonates for you around this process and discovering what's written on your soul, and whether that's a book or maybe not, but there's something that wants to be expressed and you're interested in any of the programs, and particularly this upcoming retreat, which just has a few spots left. It's in October in New Mexico, and we're actually going to be doing a lot of this work together in a beautiful, rare art cave by a cave digger called Raw Paulette, which is I'm very excited about and is going to be fantastic. So more details I'll put in the comments below to connect with me about that. And yeah, I just want to thank you, Stephanie. I so appreciate you sharing so much of your journey and your muse board process and this visual part of the importance of healing. I do the healing work through the writing, and you're doing this healing work through the visual part, and what it means to then be out there and more visible in the world, both through your book and through the actual work and content and imagery and design that comes from the content of your book and your work out in the world in your business.
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you. Any closing comment or anything you want to put out to the audience?
I think that, like what you said, if any of this resonates for any viewer, that you spend some time talking to Sam and find out how she can help you, because it's been a year and a half of a very wise investment of time and money for me to work with you, Sam. So I would encourage anybody, even if it's an inkling of ooh, I want to do that, and go find out more.
Yeah, thank you. And talk to me, because, even in a few minutes conversation, that I know I generally pick up on what might be needed, even if this isn't it for you. Kind of helping that essence and that clarity of what wants to be expressed through you. So thank you, Stephanie. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Watching out there, and may you have a beautiful day, and we'll hopefully see you again. And check out Stephanie as well, Stephanie Steyer at simplygorgeouslife.com to find out more about Stephanie and her work and her forthcoming book and the beautiful muse boards as well. So,
thank you, Sam.
All right, so we'll check out. We'll still stay on, but I'll go off the Facebook Live.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.